this was me, day one of playing ADC in Iron, and as you can see, I clearly have no idea what I'm doing.
Why did I just do this? What am I thinking?
And this is me 90 days later. Literally one win from Diamond, missing skill shots on a Jhin who's not even moving. Yeah, mechanically, I'm still trash. But yet somehow I managed to climb from Iron to Diamond on what many deem the hardest role to climb on.
Oh my god, this is it, this is it. Yes! Oh my god. I honestly thought I wasn't going to make it, but I did.
Now, before making this video, I figured I'd check out some of the other videos of this same format on YouTube. And what I found is every single one of them started with the same first step. Step 1, already be really good at the game. Look, I'm no expert, but I'd imagine hitting Diamond is a little bit easier when you're already challenger in another role. But what do I know? Anyway, hi, I'm Zot, and I was forced by Skillcap to reach Diamond in 90 days, with help from challenger coach Hector. And over those 90 days, I got absolutely flooded with information. Some of it was great, and some of it, don't tell Hector this, wasn't all that useful. Well, for me at least. So I figured I'd filter through everything and tell you what actually helped me reach Diamond, as well as some of the most common mistakes I saw as a very average League player. And to make things even easier, I've even went as far as to create my own personal course over on our website. It's basically a fast-track version of my full 90-day journey. No filler, just the real practical stuff that helped me climb the most. Basically, the course I wish I had when I started. So if you can relate to my struggle, this might possibly be the quickest way for you to start climbing too. So check it out today using the link in the description below. But for now, let's get back to the video. We're going to start right at the beginning. Actually, before the game even starts. And that's coming up with a basic game plan for lane. I know this is going to sound kind of boring, but honestly, it helped me a ton. As when I first started playing bot lane, I'd get into lane and be like, okay, how on earth am I supposed to play this matchup? No plan, no real reason behind what I was doing. I just kind of winged it and hoped things worked out. And like, I'd imagine solo laners kind of have it easy in this department. If you play a few champions, you'll start to learn matchups and get a feel for how each lane plays out. But in bot lane, it's complete chaos. You've got 4 players down there, and even if I'm playing the same ADC every game, the lane still feels completely different every time. Different supports, different enemy duos, you rarely get the same matchup twice. And even if the champs are the same, it still plays out differently depending on how your support actually decides to play. Sometimes they're aggressive and super eager to go in. Sometimes they're just completely AFK. But after my first lesson on laning, the one thing I hyper focused on was simply paying attention to runes and making a simple game plan around them.
Press tab. What's the game plan here, Zo?
So he's pokey. He just wants to go for short trades, poke me. This guy's a little bit more all in, but we are way more all in. We would win a longer trade. Going to be playing off Leona, avoiding poke until we can all in, basically.
Yeah, this is why I had you go press the attack. I haven't had you do this on MF before, but this is better with engaged supports. Like, it's simpler to do, because if your support wants to all in, you want a rune that helps you all in, right?
So there's a few potential keystone runes you'll see in the bot lane. Fleet Footwork, First Strike, Dark Harvest, and Arcane Comet all fall under what you would call poke or short trade runes. To get the highest value out of these, you'll either be poking with spells in the case of Comet, or looking for short one auto trades with either First Strike or Fleet Footwork before then backing off, only ever committing to a fight when they're already very low. Whereas Conqueror and Lethal Tempo are both ramp up runes, meaning you'll instead be heavily favored in longer, more drawn out trades where your rune can stack up and begin to provide you with value. So you'll ideally want to stay healthy and look for opportunities where you can all in. For example, going back to the early days before I started to think about runes, in a situation like this where Ashe with Comet pops out of the bush level 1, I honestly didn't really know how to react. But today I look at this and I just think, what on earth are they doing? And I would have just killed them both with ease thanks to my Lethal Tempo. But anyway, somewhere in the middle of both these two extremes, there's PTA, Hail of Blades, and Electrocute, where you'll want to go for these like free auto trades before then just backing off. The best way to play around these is to chunk your opponent and then look for an all-in only when you get them low enough. And just by knowing that, you can make very simple yet very effective game plans based off your own and your opponent's rune choice. But for an example of how impactful this can be in an actual game, take a look at this. We've got Smolder with Comet against Trist with Lethal Tempo. Seeing this, we already know the game plan for both sides. Smolder's looking to poke with his W or go for a short trade with auto and Q, only ever committing to an all-in if he has a massive advantage. Whereas Trist on the the other hand, should be aiming to preserve health, avoiding short trades, and being patient until she can look for an all-in. And even despite not doing the best job of avoiding damage, Trist notices the fresh Waste's hook and begins to walk up after. Now, pausing here, with Trist under half health, I don't know about you, but I honestly didn't in a million years expect her to jump in here. But she does, and then she proceeds to kill Fresh and even forces the Smolder to back off after, all by simply understanding this concept of long versus short trades. So just keep these win conditions and game plans in mind and think about what you're up against as you load into a game. What I want to talk about next is something I find honestly absolutely hilarious, and I swear players lose their mind over it. It's this obsession with hitting level 2 first. Now, don't get me wrong, I of course get why it matters. Hitting level 2 gives you twice the abilities, and in the right situation it can turn into a great trade, allow you to deny CS, or even best case net you a kill. But I don't know about you guys, but from what I've experienced, people get so locked in on actually getting level 2 that they stop thinking about why they're even doing it. And this game right here is the perfect example of that. You're about to see literally everyone lose their mind over getting level 2. Me and Leona arrived to lane a little late, and Jhin and Pyke already have a solid push going. By the time wave 2 shows up, Jhin and Pyke have cleared the first wave completely, while me and Leona are still sitting on 3 caster minions. But I want you to watch Leona. She's still, for whatever reason, completely mind controlled by the potential prospect of level 2. She hangs around, gets hooked, and barely survives. And yeah, in hindsight, it's easy to see the mistake Leona made here, but Jhin and Pyke messed this up too. They tunneled so hard on getting level 2 that they just overpushed. Yeah, I learned that's a thing as well. Once they hit level 2, now what? There's nothing they should be able to do with it. Me and Leona can just walk back under tower, grab the wave for free, and now we're the ones who get to build a slow push. So even though Jhin and Pyke won the race to level 2, if it wasn't for Leona trolling, they would have ended up in a worse position. And one thing we all know is that there's so much variance between support players and even ADCs that you'll never really know how the early lane will play out. That's why I personally like to just use the first wave to just kind of suss things out. You can usually tell pretty quickly if your opponents are psychos who have one goal and one goal only: hit level 2 first no matter what. And well, if that's the case and you know you can't contest, just let them push. Crazy concept, I know. Maybe look to toss in an auto or two while they're focused on the wave, but otherwise learn to be okay with conceding. More often than not, they're either overpush or they'll walk up and try to force a trade so hard that they end up coming out behind in it anyway, just like I did there. On the flip side, if you get the push lead, just don't overpush. Your aim is to keep your opponents interested and then move up as you're about to hit level 2. You don't even need to last hit the minion that will give you level 2. And if you don't know when that is, it's after clearing the first wave and then the next free melee. But I'm assuming you all know that anyway. Next up, and continuing the topic of lane phase, I want to talk briefly about wave management, something that, at least in my experience, always gets explained in the most overcomplicated way imaginable. And to be completely honest with you, in anything below like gold, I don't even really think it matters, as your support's just going to grief your wave anyway. But regardless, there's one thing I was told that really did stick with me: always hit the wave with a purpose. Like, just try to prevent yourself just autopilot hitting the wave for no reason. It's simple, but it's actually effective. As from what I've seen, at least in my experience below diamond, a lot of bot laners seem to think the default mindset should just be to constantly cosplay Mundo and push, push, push. Like, the only way to win lane or assert dominance is to just permanently shove the wave. And yes, that of course can work if you're playing something like Lux Kaelin and your entire game plan is to harass your opponents under turret. But what I kept running into on my climb was situations where players had a lead or were clearly stronger in the 2v2, exactly like this Kaelin here, and instead of using that to control the lane, they just mindlessly perma-pushed, even when paired with a melee support, which basically means, congrats, you're now letting me farm safely under turret while your support stands there doing absolutely nothing. Oh, and you're also vulnerable to ganks the entire time. Instead, what you want to do is slow push, stack a wave, crash it, and then let it bounce back to you. Or at least just crash it, refrain from hitting the next one as it comes in, difficult, I know, and then just reset the wave. This then gives you the entire lane for you and your support to play with. You can zone, engage, deny CS, whatever you want. And at the end of the day, that's what wave management is really all about, building an advantage, right? But let me walk you through an example from one of my games in Emerald, because I think it sums up a lot of the mistakes players make when it comes to controlling waves. Me on Corki here pushes the wave and then I send a base. Aphelios, since he's healthier, stays a bit longer, clears the wave I pushed, then clears the next one too before basing. Now, like we know, that wave's going to crash, and as the next wave comes in, it's going to start slow pushing back towards him. Pretty standard stuff. But then my completely evil Twisted Fate support decides this is is the perfect time for him to go and roam top. So now the question is, what do you think I should do when I come back to lane? Well, as this is pushing away from me and my support's top and their Row's mid, my goal should be to clear this wave as fast as possible, crash it before the next wave gets to lane, and then get it back pushing to me. But as, well, I'm bad, I didn't think about any of that. I come back to lane, start slow pushing, which would have been fine if my support wasn't top, and then shortly after, Rao and Aphelios return. So now, what do you think they should do? Easy, just continue letting it slow push into them and zone me off the entire time. If they do this, I'm going to lose probably 3, maybe even 4 entire waves, and my game's just completely over. But here's the funny part. Players completely lose their mind when supports roam, and it all goes back to that idea that the only way to punish is to push. So that's exactly what they do, and I just grab the wave under the turret and thank my lucky stars. But again, there's a lot more I want to dive into when it comes to wave management, base timings, tower plays, and even just laning in general. But this video's already getting long and there's so much more I still want to cover. Plus, I'm new at this and I think the skill capped editors might actually kill me if I kept going at this point. So if you want to go deeper into all of that, I'll be putting together a full breakdown of the stuff that helped me the most inside of my personal course over at skillcap.com. But anyway, I used to think this next topic was just a me thing. Like maybe I was just only feeling this way because of the added pressure from the 90-day challenge. But the more I've played, the more I've realized that's definitely not the case. And hopefully a lot of you can relate to this too. It's that terrible feeling of being overly pressured to make something happen in lane. Like you know the lane isn't going well. Maybe you're getting poked out and stuck under turret. Maybe you're getting outscaled. Or maybe your support's just not doing anything and you're getting annoyed. And you just start thinking, I have to do something or I'm just gonna slowly lose. Just take this Lucian here. Like, what is this dash? Well, I can only imagine he's frustrated, right? He's on a strong lane champ, but he's just getting shoved into turret by Caitlyn and Lux. And there's just this overwhelming need for him to do something. But here's the thing that I've had to learn the hard way, and will admit it's far easier said than done. Sometimes you're just gonna lose lane, even when you feel like you shouldn't. And as an ADC, if you want to climb, you have to learn to accept that, which I know sounds kind of weird. I mean, you're coming to a video to see what helps you get diamond, and somebody is telling you just to get better at losing. But truth is, supports hold the bulk of the agency in lane. And if you lose the support lottery, there's honestly not a whole lot you can do. But trying to force something just to cope 9 times out of 10 is just going to make things worse. Trust me. The good news though, you're playing ADC. And at least in my experience, even when you lose early and it feels like everything starts snowballing, you lose towers, dragons, herald, it's not always doomed. Yeah, it feels awful watching the map bleed out, but most games actually last long enough for you to scale and come back, assuming you don't tilt off the face of the earth, which trust me, I know is easier said than done. But if it's any consolation, I found that post laning phase is where I was able to make the biggest impact in all of my games, and I'll show you exactly how in just a second. And honestly, judging by all the comments on a lot of our videos, I personally think this entire topic might be one of the biggest hurdles holding players back from climbing. And I'm saying that because I know it personally held me back and caused me to tilt quite frequently. But I do get it. When you're in the moment, it's so easy to let emotions take over, and then everything you know just tends to go out of the window. And it wasn't until I was forced to start reviewing my gameplay after the emotions had simmered down that I could see those games were never really even half as bad as they felt in the moment. But even then, aside from just developing the strong mental it takes to suffer in silence, there are a few practical things that helped me manage it better. One of those was being okay with losing caster minions, as Hector explained to me in one of our VOD reviews.
Careful here, don't just get autoed for free. Don't need to last it right now, so chill. So right now I'm thinking, okay, as I want to recuperate my health, try to lifesteal, health regen. It seems like they're kind of letting you do it, so it's fine. Don't let yourself get auto-attacked here. Don't, yep. Let yourself get autoed.
Did I give up that CS?
You remember like in the item economy thing, how I kind of made fun of health pots because they're worth 50 gold. They restore 120 health. In lane, giving up a caster minion is 14 gold. So to put it into perspective, like it's not exact, but like 4 of 4 caster minions is 1 health pot. So I mean, it's just 14 gold. Like who cares? You know?
Yeah, I feel like it's like I really hate missing CS, so I just go for CS I shouldn't. So I guess to hear it's fine to just give a CS like that in this situation. Like trading a CS for an auto in this situation isn't worth it.
Another way of thinking about it is like you're against Draven, right? You're gonna fall behind, like going to fall behind. Like that's a thing. Imagine you miss like 30 caster minions. You miss almost everyone. 440 gold. So let's say you miss 30 caster minions. It's 440 gold. Throughout the entire lane, you miss 30 casters. If you walk out of lane down like a longsword to the Straven, would you feel bad?
No.
And next was being okay with just letting your turret fall. This was another thing that Hector told me, and I honestly had my reservations at first, as I was one of those guys that would just rather stand my ground and die defending my turret than just back off and let them have it. There's feats of strength, first turret gold, and more importantly, everyone knows whoever takes first turret wins lane. But nowadays when I play, if I'm in a tough lane, I'm honestly happy when my turret falls, as it means I can actually begin making a comeback. And there's a couple of reasons for this. First is that, at least from my experience, every ADC and support would just kind of not know what to do next, and in most cases default to head in mid. Then, more often than not, the mid laner would just stay there with them, at least for a little while. And now they're just free people sharing XP, sharing minions, sharing gold, all while I'm free farming bot. Even if they do eventually get mid turret doing so, in my experience it's just kind of whatever. And the second reason I'm happy when the turret falls is because of a mechanic called minion strength, which is this little number here when you target a minion. Hector was convinced everyone knows about this, but I personally had no idea, and he did a great job of explaining how it works and how it can help you get back into the game back in week 5 of my climb. So let's listen in.
This following mechanic is the biggest reason why players suck at closing out games, and why there's always a good chance for a comeback in low elo. The team that has a higher average level, the winning team basically, their minions get stronger. You can check this by clicking the minion waves on the top left. What happens as the losing team is that the waves are constantly pushing towards you because of this. Imagine that during the laning phase, the waves were always on your side. You'd be super happy, right? You can see the effect of this minion buffing mechanic in a losing replay. Go to like 20 minutes into the game and watch a wave that no one is touching. It will just sit between the tier 1 and tier 2 towers the entire time. So as the losing team, it becomes very easy to go catch those waves for farm, and because low elo players are not very good at side laning, the winning team passively bleeds a ton of minions and slowly their lead starts fading. And another thing to consider is that their minion waves get even stronger if they have a tower advantage over you. So basically, if they've taken 2 towers in bot lane, whereas you haven't taken any, they have a 2 tower advantage, so the minions in bot lane are going to get that much stronger.
Which leads us nicely into the next section. And honestly, if there's one thing I want you to take away from this video, it's this. And the lower rank you are, the more effective this becomes. But first, if you've been following the Bronze to Diamond series here on YouTube, or especially if you've watched the VOD reviews and earpieces over on our site, you already know we're not just exaggerating for the plot when we say, mechanically, I'm actually really bad.
To get pressure in lane.
Oh my god, I didn't mean to W.
Oh.
Yeah, that's bad.
What's with your mechanics this game?
I agree with all the flame I get in the comments, and I'll be the first to admit mechanically I probably don't deserve to be in Diamond. Literally, this clip was from the same day I got promoted to Diamond.
What am I doing? I actually lost where I was. That was crazy.
But regardless, I still made it to Diamond with nearly a 60% win rate. How? Well, see this number here? I became absolutely obsessed with making it go up. And I mean addicted. And I want to make this abundantly clear. I'm under no delusion that what I'm about to tell you is the best or even correct way to play. But for me, as an average player, it's what worked. So with that in mind, the goal was simple. Maximize solo experience and guaranteed gold over everything. As being even slightly ahead of the curve on an ADC, which already scales amazingly, just makes everything so much easier. And while it's obvious why gold is important, I think this short clip from week 3 really sums up the value of solo experience.
As he walks in, Zok gets hit by a charm immediately. But because he's so strong relative to the Ahri, he just ignores her and ults the rest of the enemy team in her face. And there's nothing she can really do about it. She doesn't have the damage to take down the base stats of a Miss Fortune a level up over her. This is something players tend to really underestimate. For example, if Zot wasn't farming so well and was level 13, exactly like the enemy Jhin, Ahri would have had a level up over him. And look at the damage difference this combo would have done. done. But by simply being ahead of the curve in items and levels, it enables you to tank so much more damage and get away with terrible mechanics.
But anyway, here's how I approached most of my games. First, and I'd say this matters the most below Emerald, is that you should honestly just treat mid lane as if it was lava, and you want to avoid being there as much as possible. Whether you take bot turret or lose your bot turret, it doesn't matter. Do not just immediately recall and head to mid. The best case scenario for you is that your support goes mid, the enemy bot lane goes mid, and they end up sitting there 2v3 doing absolutely nothing. If your support follows you back to bot, just politely tell them to go and roam. You shouldn't feel scared of being alone. In fact, in most cases, solo laners will just completely underestimate you and end up feeding. And again, yes, I understand the correct macro play is to have your mid laner go bot while you and your support move mid. But in lower elo, mid lane's kind of like a gamer's bedroom when they've got family visiting. No matter how much you want to keep to yourself, people just keep wandering in, hanging around, and before you know it, you're sharing gold, experience, and being forced to socialize. The second this happens, get out of there and head to a side lane. And this should be your default setting for the rest of the game. Every time you base, look at the map and head to the empty lane with the most farm. The lower rank you are, the more side lanes will be neglected. And honestly, it was only until I got to high plat or even emerald where I noticed players actually started really caring about side lane farm. Next, try to avoid being baited into feeling like you need to be at every coin flip fight or skirmish that happens, at least until you've cleared the wave, at which point you can always reevaluate. And more often than not, if possible, it's always going to be more beneficial going for the guaranteed gold, as you'll never know how that fight is going to pan out. Take this game here from back when I was in platinum. I noticed there's a fight breaking out in the top river, and I make a few mistakes here and a couple of decent decisions that I just want to walk through. So first off, mistake number one. At the time, I wasn't in the habit of thinking about mirrored waves. For anyone who's not familiar with that term, it's basically this. If you look at where your own wave is, you can figure out where the enemy wave is. So in this case, I can see my wave is about to pass mid turret, which means their wave is about to appear on my screen, and I should already be moving toward it, but I don't, and then even when the wave does show up, I still choose to go to the fight. Mistake number two. Because, like I said, if I had just cleared that wave, I'd now have options. I could keep pushing down mid, pressure the turret, or even take another look at that fight and decide if it's worth rotating for. Luckily though, the Akali just ints into me and I get a free kill. But this right here is exactly why it's so easy to convince yourself that decisions just like this one are good plays. The reality is, this was a total coin flip. I could have easily died there, Jhin could have moved mid, taken the wave, taken my turret, and suddenly I'm down a massive chunk of gold for literally nothing. And that's why, again, if I had at least taken the mid wave before walking to the fight, then even if I do die, the enemy loses the wave to the turret and it's not the worst. Anyway, after I kill the Akali, there's not really any way of telling how the rest of this fight is going to go. All I know is that it just feels awkward. I'm behind them, Seraphine's zoning me, and I don't have my W. And that's something I've started paying attention to a lot more. If a fight feels awkward, just head to a wave. Trust me, you'll know the feeling. And most of the time, following that instinct is for the best. So that's exactly what I do. I go back mid, grab the wave I left earlier, clear the next one, and even get a free tier 2 turret out of it. Could I have committed more, potentially saved my team, or even just picked up a few more kills? Probably, maybe, but who knows? The point is, it doesn't matter. Climbing is all about taking the simple, high percentage play as often as possible. And truthfully, there's so much more I wish I could include here, but there's no way it'd all fit in this one video. Things like why objectives don't matter as much as people say, how to get free kills just by exploiting your enemy's perspective, how to actually play when your support is, well, not the best, mid-game macro that doesn't melt your brain, and even some weird little stuff like how being annoying can actually help you climb. All of which is currently spread across the VOD reviews, lessons, and earpieces over on our site. There's hundreds of hours of content there, and if you've got the time, it will absolutely help. But if you're like me and just want the good stuff, the stuff that actually helped me climb the most, then again, I've put together a course that filters out all of the fluff and focuses on exactly what worked for me, which you can gain access to with the special discount code linked in the description below. And I'm honestly so confident that it'll help you. It's backed up by a rank up guarantee. If you don't climb at least 5 divisions, which is an entire rank by the way, you'll get your full money back, no questions asked. So I guess all that's left to say is thanks for watching, and seriously a huge thanks to everyone who supported me and the Bronze to Diamond series. I read every single comment both on YouTube and on the website, and all of the kind words really mean way more than you'd probably realize. So was getting diamond worth it? Short answer, no, absolutely not. But hey, aside from losing my mind a few times, this whole project was a blast to work on. And spoiler alert, Skillcapped has already lined up an even harder challenge for me next. So keep an eye out for that. For now though, I'll see you in the next video.